Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in this video lecture, we'll be discussing about oscillators. So the basic electronics fourth module is divided to three subdivisions. So out of the three subdivisions, the last subdivision to discuss is about oscillators. Fine. So in this video lecture, we'll be discussing mainly about oscillators. So this is lecture one. In this lecture one, we'll be discussing about introduction to oscillators and the concept of positive feedback. Even though these two points, there's introduction and concept of positive feedback is not there in your syllabus, but still then I'm taking this in order to make you understand the further topics very easily. Okay, so this is very important lecture to understand the further topics that is mentioned in your syllabus. So in your syllabus actually is directly starting with Barkhausen's criteria for oscillations. Before this introduction of positive feedback, I am going to teach now. Fine. So let us have an introduction to this. Now let us try to understand what is an oscillator is all about. Fine. I think all of you might have worked in a physics laboratory in second PUC or in B physics laboratory. You might have used the oscillating pendulum, right? So there will be a ball, and that ball will be attached with one small rope to a fixed point. If you take that ball to one end and if you leave it, then continuously it will start oscillating, and slowly it will become slower, and at one point of time it will halt down, right? So it is also something similar to that only, but it is an electronic oscillator. Okay, let us try to understand what is this oscillator is all about. An oscillator is an amplifier which uses positive feedback and without any external input signal generates an output waveform at the desired frequency. Very important point. What is trying to say is oscillator is a kind of amplifier, fine, which uses positive feedback concept and without having any external input signal, this oscillator is generating or generates an output waveforms at the desired frequency. The meaning is oscillator is capable of generating oscillations. Fine. So what is an oscillation? Not to understand that, I have one pic over here. Okay, this is what. Just see this figure C. Fine. What is this? It is a sinusoidal signal, right? This sinusoidal signal is having oscillations, right? Positive and negative oscillations, right? So continuous oscillations are being there, na? So this is what is called as oscillation. Now this oscillations, in order to generate these oscillations, we use a oscillator signal, fine. And this oscillator signal is produced by making use of the oscillators, which are using a kind of one of the amplifier and positive feedback concept it is using. Amplifier with the positive feedback can generate the output waveforms of desired frequency and constant oscillations. Okay, let us go further. An oscillator is a circuit which basically acts as a generator. Oscillator is a circuit which acts as a generator. What it generates is, it generates the oscillations, generating the output signal which oscillates with constant amplitude and frequency. The generated output signal will be having a constant amplitude, that is voltage, and the desired frequency. Whatever frequency you want, for that you are supposed to design. So such a circuit is called as an oscillator. Fine. An oscillator can generate output waveform of high frequency up to gigahertz also. It can oscillator circuit can generate the oscillations of up to gigahertz frequency as well. Fine. So this is all about introduction to oscillators. Now we are talking about amplifier and positive feedback, right? What is an amplifier? You have discussed in the whole module. You have discussed on this amplifier. Okay. Now let us try to understand what is this positive feedback. Okay, in the next topic. So that is what is there over here. Concept of positive feedback. Okay. Now what is this feedback? Also you understood in the previous lecture. What is feedback and all. Now what happens if we give positive feedback? Negative feedback we used in the last lectures. Now let us try to understand positive feedback. The feedback, what is feedback? Let us try to understand that. Feedback is a property which allows to feedback the part of output. Is a property which allows to feedback part of output to the same circuit as its input. Fine. Such a feedback is said to be positive feedback whenever part of output feedback is to the amplifier as its input and is in same phase with the original input signal as applied to the amplifier. That is what is shown over here. Just see here in this figure what you are seeing. This is an amplifier. This is the input to the amplifier. This is the output. Fine. And input is given to non-inverting terminal. Non-inverting terminal means whatever input you give with whatever phase, same phase will be retained at the output side. There is no phase shift. Fine. So such a output is taken, a part of output, not full output. Part of output is taken and given to feedback network, and feedback network will give the feedback signal back to the input side. And in the input side, just see here, feedback signal is also having same phase as the input. Now input and the feedback signal both are having same phase. Same phase means what happens is such a feedback is called as positive feedback. If this phase is reversed, then such a feedback is can call it as negative feedback. So that is what is trying to say over here. Positive feedback is a property which allows the part of output to feedback to the to the input side. Okay, and when we say positive feedback, the meaning is feedback signal and the input signal both are in phase, both are having the same phase. Okay, now he's explaining about that figure only. He's considering a non-inverting amplifier and all. So that is what he is discussing over here. So this is all about the concept of positive feedback. Let us see further what he's saying. The part of output is fed back to the input with the help of feedback network. How much part of output is to be fed back get decided by the feedback network gain beta. See, we are telling that part of output is taken back to feedback network and it is given back as an input, right? We're not taking full output. So 100% of the output signal is not taken. Some part of output is taken, it is fed back. How much part of output is taken back is depending on this feedback factor, that is beta. That is what he's trying to say. Depending on design, will be part of output will be taken back and it is given to the input. No phase change is introduced by the feedback network, hence feedback signal Vf is in phase with the input signal Vs. As the phase of the feedback signal is same as that of input applied, this feedback is called as positive feedback. Okay, the oscillators always use positive feedback signals only. Okay, so this completes this part. If you have any queries, comment me back, I shall reply. Okay, thank you.